it's crazy that even someone that's skeptical like me, who don't trust the government, who has always thought the government was up to something, who has had this mindset that our tax dollars go to the politicians' pockets, I've always had that mindset, can still be deceived by the media being like, yep, he's a Nazi, yep, he's working with Putin. Like, it's so crazy to me because I should have been the first one, in my opinion, to be like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
My main goal is to blow up and then act like I don't know nobody.
This USAID thing that's going on, Mike Benz has been on that like a pit bull, and I've been following him on X, and he's going to come back on here and kind of explain everything. But he explained it the last time he was here, and I don't think I really grasped it until Elon's 6 wizards. He brought in some young wizards to go in there and go over the books, and they are just finding crazy shit. It's great, and it's so interesting. I was listening to a left-wing podcast today. I like to mix it up. I listen to all kinds of different stuff, and it was like I was listening to a different world. Like, they weren't even talking about all of this corruption and all this obvious buying of influence. Instead, they were talking about aid overseas and how people are going to starve. And like,
it's mind-boggling, and there's also
By the hand.
I have to say, I'm upset at the general pattern of a failure to recognize how right those of us who hypothesized that there was a racket that had overtaken our entire governance structure, we turn out to be absolutely right about this, and no one's going to mention it. That's mind-blowing.
It's very strange that the media...
It's still the power of the media, though. I mean, that's really the only reason why the general public don't see this shit. They don't dig into it. They don't pay attention to it. They don't watch videos like this on YouTube to learn about it. They see USA, and if they see fucking Latin, they don't care. Like, the only way that they'll care is if it's put into the limelight by A-list celebrities or on the news or social media platforms push it. Like, the only platform that actually pushes to show the shit that I know of is Twitter, X. I don't use Facebook like that, but from the people that I do know that use Facebook like that, they're the ones that are fucking brainwashed by this shit and don't really give a fuck. But to be fair, I have seen some like hardcore fuck Trumpers that are kind of opening their eyes and actually being like, well, what are you gonna see? I'm gonna give them a fucking chance, which a few months ago they would have never, ever in their fucking life said something like that. So, I mean, I think people are kind of coming to terms with it because they know if they stay with fuck Trump, that they're going to look stupid eventually because they see that he's actually doing stuff that he said that he's going to do and people are happy about it. So they're doing it so they don't look stupid. But, there's still some people that are stubborn as fuck who will never, ever admit that they're wrong.
Media is ignoring it, especially the left-wing media. It's just too big of a win for the right, and so they're just ignoring it. And then they're just highlighting the good things that USA did, which I'm sure it probably did. Probably had to do some good things to like at least justify its existence.
As a cover story, I'm not even sure. Maybe it doesn't change anything. Obviously, this was a mechanism used to funnel money to all sorts of things that we didn't vote on, that don't make sense in light of our constitutional structure. And I obviously have concerns like everybody else about where this train takes us, but seeing that structure broken up it's a huge relief.
They gave...
I just don't see how there's not more transparency. I don't see how it's not like a fucking national alert, like an Amber Alert every single time one of these fucking bills pass or something. Like, regardless if people care or not to look into it, it should at least come across everybody's fucking phone because it matters. Like, if our government's passing laws that we aren't even aware of, that we wouldn't be for, that kind of seems like betrayal from our elected officials.
They gave $27 million to the George Soros Prosecutor Fund. So our own government is funding this left-wing lunatic who is hiring the most insane prosecutors who are letting people out of jail who commit violent crimes.
And that's exactly how this racket worked, is that the ability to tax the American public and then effectively get us to pay for being propagandized, for being surveilled, that's the game. And
it's genius. I ain't even gonna lie.
I don't know what era we currently live in. Obviously, there's a lot that's confusing about what the Trump administration is up to, but I don't think any reasonable person could be unhappy that we are exiting that era.
I'm going to read off some of the things that this guy Kanakota the Great on Twitter listed. And this is off the Jesse Water Show. USAID, $20 million for Iraqi Sesame Street, $2 million for Moroccan pottery classes, $11 million to tell Vietnam to stop burning trash, $27 million to give gift bags to illegals.
Well, actually, how much did he say to stop burning trash? Because, I mean...
burning trash, 20 pottery classes, $11 million to tell Vietnam to stop burning trash.
Why does it cost so much to tell them that? Like, shouldn't it just be a phone call?
$27 million to give gift bags to illegals. $27 million. $330 million to help Afghanis grow crops. Like crops. I wonder what those crops are.
Opioids.
What's the biggest crop, Brett?
It's going to be the poppy seeds for bagels, I'm thinking.
Yeah. $200 million on an unused Afghani dam. $250 million on an unused Afghani road. This is wild.
See, like, those, there's just no way that that's not money laundering. Those are how is it that fucking expensive? I mean, if you look at how much money we've sent to fucking countries, Afghanistan, it's always the fucking top countries. The top countries are always ones that we're at war with, which makes no fucking sense. Which, I mean, I guess we're destroying, so we're rebuilding. So, I mean, it kind of seems like virtuous, but I don't believe that's where it's going. And then on a side note, the most donated to is Israel and Egypt. I don't know. Israel, that's a whole nother side story. In Egypt, I don't know one fucking thing about Egypt. I don't know why they the second most donated to since like the 1950s.
I mean, some of this stuff is really, really crazy.
Well, yes, and USAID is, of course, riddled through whatever international madness it is that caused us to open our southern border and facilitate an invasion through the Darien Gap. So, seeing that structure laid bare is it almost feels like it can't be real. Like it can't have been this close to the surface, and yet here we are.
They were spending, is this number correct? I think the number that I read was $600 million every 2 months to ship in illegals.
Sounds right. I don't know the number offhand.
God damn.
What the
$300
fuck?
a month.
Well, you have to realize
$300
that
a month.
basically we had a shadow apparatus functioning, and it involves all kinds of things. It involves payoffs to people who didn't deserve them. It involves contracting to entities that were necessary to get the work done. So I don't think we can properly understand what these numbers mean and what they're actually being used for, but it was a racket.
Well, we were...
Well, I seen something on X today saying that all this stuff has been public information, just nobody cared to look. I fucking just do not believe that. There's no way that there ain't been one fucking conspiracy theorist that wanted to fucking highlight all this shit and tell everybody. Like, I mean, I get that conspiracy theorists are usually like shadow banned or their content is fucking, blacklisted, but there's people like Ian Carroll and Liz Corkin and all these famous conspiracy theorists that highlight shit like this. Fucking what's his name, James O'Keefe, like all them people, they would for sure have announced this to the public if it was public knowledge. Like, I don't know. It could have. I guess I could just be being lied to by someone on Twitter, but I don't know.
Always wondering, like, why is our debt so high? Why is the national debt so high? Like, why is our deficit so insane? Well, this is it. I mean, how about the one where they paid $236 billion, for chargers? Do you know that they were trying to set up chargers?
You mean car chargers?
Car chargers.
And they only built a couple of them?
Excuse me. $40 billion for electric car ports. 8 ports have been built. Do you know how crazy that is?
That's 500 million each port, right?
I'm so stupid.
Damn it.
$1 billion
I
for
do.
carports.
But I have to say, as much as this is shocking, I wasn't surprised. I thought that effectively our entire system had been turned into a racket and that we were basically being fed a cover story from it.
I mean, yeah.
It's weird to now have the evidence of this, but I think it was apparent that whatever had taken over our system wasn't interested in the well-being of average people, that it was interested in the power of the state to take people's resources and redistribute them, and that really is what's been going on for most of our adult lives.
And it's also important to note that this progressive, left-leaning, like radical left arm of the government, of the country, was manufactured.
Yes.
It's all manufactured. It's all manufactured and supported. It's not organic, which is really fascinating about the other side, because the other side, the reaction to it is organic. Like, say what you want about the Trump administration and what you think about him. That was an organic shift where people were like, fucking enough.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yes, it was.
And the sad thing is that I was completely against it. If I would have knew, if I wasn't misled by, all the fucking clips and shit that were being pushed around on the internet, I probably wouldn't have been a fuck Trump type of guy, but I was. Like, I thought he was fucking terrible. I was like, this motherfucker's on grabbing pussy in the Oval Office. He don't like black people. He's fucking racist towards illegals. Like, he's fucking friends with Putin. Like, all that shit I just took for word of mouth. And if I didn't, I mean, I wouldn't have been much different. The shit would have still been the same. It's not just me that controlled the fucking vote or whatever, but if that shit wasn't happening to a lot of people like how I think it is now, it would have been a completely different outcome. Which in hindsight, I do think exactly how everything planned out is the best way that it fucking planned out. I mean, obviously a lot of bad, terrible tragedies happened, but whenever you're talking about just unifying our country, I don't think it could have worked out any better. It's just sad with how organic the MAGA movement was, that so many people who would have been on their side was deceived to be against it. Like they were like I was brainwashed. Like that's genuinely what happened. That's what Joe's been saying. Like they've been spending millions and millions and millions of dollars funding media organizations to lie to us to benefit the Democrat Party. That's so superficial that it's fucking sickening. And it's crazy that even someone that's skeptical like me, who don't trust the government, who has always thought the government was up to something, who has had this mindset that our tax dollars go to the politicians' pockets. I've always had that mindset, can still be deceived by the media being like, yep, he's a Nazi, he's working with Putin. Like, it's fucking so crazy to me, because I should have been the first one, in my opinion, to be like, whoa. I didn't wake up until COVID came around. And I was like, yeah, you motherfuckers, they never gave us free medicine. Now you're trying to bribe us to get it?
Was an overdue reaction.
Yeah.
The cover story that what we were up to was righting past wrongs was so pernicious and pervasive that it was hard to get our footing to challenge it.
Right.
But it shouldn't really be surprising that movement wasn't organic. Of course it was induced. It was a cover story for theft. And we're going to be waking up to the magnitude of that theft for quite some time.
I think this is going to take years. Chamath said that it's going to be like Iran-Contra on steroids. That's what he said. He said when you get to the bottom of all this, it's going to be insane, because they haven't even got to the Medicaid, man. They haven't even got to the medical stuff. There's so much they haven't even tapped into where they think the real motherload of fraud is.
Yeah, I mean, RFK ain't been confirmed yet. Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard ain't been confirmed yet. I think Pam Bondi might have been confirmed. I'm not really sure her role. I don't know much about her. But all of them is seeking a different type of exposure to a different, like a whole certain niche of lies that we've been lied to. Like RFK wants to expose the food company. Kash Patel wants to expose the FBI. Tulsi Gabbard wants to expose the CIA. They're all fucking, and those are mother lords, bro. Like once we find out how much the food industry and the medical industry has done to poison us, to make us their damn near like money slaves, it's just gonna be a whole new world. I can't wait, man. I've been wanting this shit to happen since I was watching documentaries on the Rothschilds when I was like 11, 12 years old.
Yes, and I must say that there is also another aspect to this which we have to be careful about, which is that the justifiable anger at discovering what it is that we've been dragged into as a nation is going to make it hard to see where the limits ought to be in terms of upending this stuff. In other words, at the moment, I'm cheering for the wrecking ball.
Right.
Yeah.
Break this stuff up.
Yeah.
Never
All
again.
of it.
But
Restart from scratch.
there are...
What's that, Jamie?
I was reading an article about the spending on the Chargers. They said that they haven't actually, according to this, they haven't actually spent all that money yet.
Well, what do they do with it?
We'll get it back.
They've spent some of it to make some of those things, but it's just that hasn't been allocated yet. It's a long article going through all the spending that's been done. It's on factcheck.org.
Factcheck.org. Who runs that?
Some of the Chargers have been made. Some of them are on the way to be made, and they've built 61 at 15 stations since mid-August, or through mid-August. 14,900 more are currently in some stage of development. But that's where it goes into like where they are, what they have to be done, and who's getting the money from them. It has to be done through a long process from each
Shouldn't be
state.
that long.
Yeah, the question is, how can we get a proper accounting? As you point
Right.
out, who the hell is factcheck.org?
Well, that's the problem with fact-checking organizations. That should really be illegal. Like, I think if
Yeah.
you're a fact-checking organization, we should have stringent rules on what influence is being peddled. Like, who's paying for these fact-checkers? Who's behind the scenes?
Yeah.
What is the it should be very transparent. How did you determine whether or not this was true or false? You know, because there are a lot of things that get said. Like, I don't know if you saw this, but Elizabeth Warren got confronted, and it's on Twitter this morning. She got confronted about the amount of money that she's received from pharmaceutical drug companies. She said she's never received any money from pharmaceutical drug companies and never received any monies from any PACs. And then, of course, underneath it, Community Notes strikes again. And, of course, she received millions.
Yeah.
She's a fucking liar.
Well, and it's an arms race.
Yeah.
How can pharma cloak the money that it's giving so that there's plausible deniability at the point that Elizabeth Warren is confronted or Bernie Sanders?
Bernie Sanders was hilarious. Only 1.5 billion. Only 1.5 million out of 200 million. Only 1.5.
Yep, that's what I saw
First
as
he
well.
tried to say nothing. Only the hardworking people in this country gave me money.
Well, I don't think the Democrats understand that it's over and that there was a vast infrastructure that made their feeble arguments viable, and that infrastructure is now collapsing. People are far more aware, and their lives aren't going to function anymore.
Well, it
So-
makes sense now that we're seeing these numbers because, okay, this was what was funding the infrastructure. Now we get it. Because it wasn't, otherwise, it's organic. This is the will of the people. This is how people are moving. It's not. It wasn't that at all. This was all organic, and it was really about control and money. It had nothing to do with helping people, making people better, giving aid to foreign countries. That's all a cloak and dagger bullshit show. The reality was it's about money.
Trojan
Yeah,
horse.
it's
Money and
always
influence.
it's always about power and limited resources.
Yeah.
And this was a new game taking place at a level that was hard to believe, and therefore many of us couldn't see it.
Did
But-
you see how they used software to map out 55,000 different NGOs that were used as a branch of the democratic system?
No, I didn't catch that.
I don't know what an NGO is.
I can
hear
send it
all
to you.
the
I think I
time,
sent it
though.
to you, Jamie, right? We went over it on the podcast before. It's so nutty that this was all kind of like hidden until they started using software to try to like figure out like and map out where all the influence goes. And the crazy thing about the NGOs, and this is one of the things that Mike Benz has gone like so deep into it, it's essentially like they contribute to the Democratic Party, the government pays them. It's like it's all this like weird sort of like circular money transfer thing that's out in the open.
No, it's a positive feedback. The whole idea is power is utilized to free resources that garner more power, and it is the exact inverse of the system that we are supposed to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Where we're headed, that's a harder question.
Where we're headed
Power to the people, not power to the power.
is we're gonna own Gaza
somehow.
This is
I don't know how to feel about that. I want to do a video about that, but I don't know. I gotta see how that shit goes because there's a lot of back and forth right now on if we're helping Israel or not.
it. So Fractal Technology maps previously hidden connections between 55,000 liberal NGOs, revealing how tax dollars allegedly flowed through major institutions like Vanguard and Morgan Stanley to groups like the Chinese Progressive Association. This breakthrough tracking system can now monitor every dollar going to every NGO, exposing intricate funding webs that traditional tech couldn't detect. So, example, Black Voters Matter Fund's $4 million distribution network was invisible until quantum mapping revealed dozens of subsidiary organizations. The unprecedented mapping reveals a previously hidden web of financial relationships.
I wonder if that has a lot to do with Elon tasking all them fucking super genius computer nerds to go through all this shit. Because, I mean, in my opinion, I don't see how the fuck this ain't how it's been since the shit started. Like, I heard Elon talking about how the computer system is like decades behind what it should be, and that it's kind of embarrassing and honestly inefficient. So maybe they did that shit on purpose to hide their stuff, not knowing that, I mean, it's the internet and that shit could be dug up. But I don't know. Maybe it was on purpose. Maybe it's just done because of incompetence. But I just think it should have been something that's, you know, like where our money goes should be transparent. It should be public knowledge and easily to look up where our money's going in every aspect.
And that's what it's really all about.
Yes. The problem is sometimes when I see like a list of preposterous scientific projects that have gotten big grants, I read it and I think they all sound preposterous. But I don't know. Some of these things are likely to have had a good explanation, and it just is not apparent in the soundbite. And some of them are every bit as preposterous as they seem. And so I can't look at a map like that and say what I would expect if the system was healthy. So I'm cautious about it. I don't think the system was healthy. I think the system was a racket from one end to the other. And I've been saying that we've been living in the era of malignant governance where there's basically no element of this you couldn't turn off and make us better. But we have to be suspicious also of our understanding of how a properly functioning system would graph in something like that, so that we don't overrun the train station when we get there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot that has to come out. There's only, I guess, I don't even think it's the tip of the iceberg. Like, I don't even think we've reached the iceberg. There's just been corruption for decades. There's been secrets for decades. There's just so much shit that the people want to find out. And we finally have the elected officials, trying to have all the elected officials that we need to uncover all this shit. Our country's made for the people to have the power. The people are aware of this shit now. I don't think that they can do anything. Like, social media, I've been saying this for a while. Like, social media is either going to be the death of us or it's going to save us, because everything's there. There's paper trails to everything. It's easy to look up. Knowledge is easy to find. Like, it connects us all together to where we can all stand up together. We don't have to have celebrities that hear us to push this shit anymore. Like, we can make our voices heard. And I think that's the thing that's going to save this country and possibly the fucking world. Because, I mean, dog, if Kamala would have won, I genuinely think World War III would have happened as soon as she assumed office. And maybe not even then. Maybe they wouldn't even have to wait to January 20th, because they already know that she's not going to do anything and that Biden's not going to do anything. But anyways, I hope y'all liked that video. If you did, please give me a like. If you guys got anything to say about the video, let me know down below. You know I read every single comment. And if you fuck with your boy, would you please give me a subscription? With that said, deuces.
I'll risk it all for the gang. Slide through traffic with this little smack stick. Niggas always talk tough, but they won't clap shit. Bad bitch to you niggas, but we treat her average. If she ain't talking chicken, we gon' give it back quick. She in love with the drip and she all on my dick. But the bitch only cute, I can't go for that shit. You niggas is sad and don't care about no bag. Just worry about facials and titties and ass. That can't be me. I gotta see my niggas eat. We gotta get